You know what? Fuck it. I think outside is the appropriate place to have this conversation. Things are actually tolerable for me these days, which is amazing. I mean, what more can you say? So, like, I have been for several years just trying to, like, keep moving and not think about things. Think about things as little as possible. To just keep moving and hope that the things change enough for it to be worth slowing down, thinking about. And maybe I'm getting to that point now. Inshallah. Inshallah they find him. Half of my faith ritual stuff is just saying like the like Arabic words, mostly alhamdulillah, but also inshallah, and yeah, that one too. And then there's like astaghfirullah and mashallah, but like I don't even know if I'm using them right, like in the right grammatical way to put them in the conversation. I do actually have 2 friends who are either are Muslim or were, so they would know, I guess. But I don't really talk to them. But anyway, I enjoy that. Yeah. I guess I still make the sign of the cross as well. I don't know. And I went to adoration the other day. I don't know if this is gonna work because my hands are weak. And the tree does not want to hold my camera. Maybe a part of the tree. Let's see. I don't think so. But no. I've been just in a better mood, and when I'm in a better mood, then I get more devout, just because that's how I work. It's just who I am. But I'm like only around atheists and agnostics, and I'm not complaining. Like, I don't want to be around Christians. I don't trust those people. So like, but it's odd. Because it is kind of like I think I said this before, but like a reversal of the usual, like living a double life. Like nowadays, my version of living a double life is like singing hymns and stuff that I keep hidden from, you know. I don't bring that up in my daily conversations with my friends and acquaintances who just... And I've thought, like, what is that? What... like, and I think that the best analogy for my experience and what I would say is my faith or devotion or religion, I think it's just a certain kind of love. It's a certain kind of sentiment. And by analogy, you know, there's people who, because I don't try to put like any morality on it or any kind of like, as if I have a higher access to like perspectives on reality, because I don't think I do, man. But like, there's people who are aromantic, and so they don't experience like romantic feelings, and they like don't want that. Whereas there's people like me who do experience those things and do want that, and that's very much like a core part of who I am in my life. And without that sort of thread of that like type of feeling through my life, I wouldn't be fully myself. And it really just, yeah. But you could maybe take, and of course I imagine that every, you know, aromantic person is different in how exactly they conceive of this, but by and large, I think, you know, like, what even is romance? You know, it's kind of like, maybe like you know it when you feel it, but if you're somebody who doesn't feel those things or identify with those feelings, and then you're kind of on the outside, like looking in at the way that people are talking about romance and like all the different contradictory ways people describe it, and also like the kind of pain that can come from it, and also the like weird the harm that can come, I don't know, it just probably seems incoherent, confusing, undesirable, and just confusing. And also, or just like, you know, just like unnecessary. Like, people who are aromantic get their full amount of love through whatever relationship dynamics they do have, and whatever relationship dynamics they want. And that's great. And like, everyone can like coexist. But at the same time, you know, if I'm in a, this is a kind of a bad analogy because I don't know very many aromantic people, and so I'm just going off of like what I've seen them talking about on Tumblr and stuff. But yeah, there are people who do, broadly speaking. So I think it's about the same. But I think it is actually a good analogy. I think it is a good analogy because what is faith? What is being religious? What's believing in God? Like, you're gonna get, you know, ask 10 people, you're gonna get 20 different answers. But it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. I don't know, like, you know it when you experience it. Or not. Because you don't have to. Or you don't have to label, like, certain experiences that way. Like, there's people who, you know, maybe they have, like, senses of, like, the unity of all things, or just, like, universal love and different stuff that I would put in the, like, religious box for when I have those experiences, but they might not put it in that category. So, yeah. But I do feel sometimes like someone who is experiencing, you know, romantic feelings, who is in a community of aromantic people who are perfectly happy and good living their lives without that sentiment, without that particular sentiment, and without that particular construct. And I'm kind of like trying to explain myself. And they're like, okay, you do you, I guess. I don't think my audience knows what aromantic is. If only I was Savannah Brown. Savannah Brown, I love her videos and her writing and poetry and just the way that she is. And also she seems to have a good audience, where her audience is largely like on the same page with her. And I mean, I don't have an audience because I don't edit these or anything. Like, it's really just me talking to myself mostly. I'm talking to this tree. But it would be nice to, like, I don't even know what audience that would be. Weird Catholics, maybe? Like, my friends, like, my two, like, religious friends are both Catholic. But, like, chill. Well, not chill, but, like, you know. Yeah, But the funny thing is, I found a church that is, like, on paper, exactly the kind of church that I was looking for. And exactly the kind of church that I would imagine if I was just imagining the type of church that I would want to go to. It's, like, a blend of traditional and modern. The church has changed over the years, evolved, and, like, taken accountability for certain attitudes that it has. Like, I've never known a church to do that, ever. And they've done that. So, like, I trust them. I think they have integrity. They have just really beautiful liturgy. They do communion, the Eucharist, however you call it. They're, like, their leadership is, like, non-central, non-hierarchical. They're just really cool. and the songs they sing I like it's a good blend of tradition. It doesn't feel completely like but also not admired in the tradition. Anyway, but I don't go there. And I don't go there. And I think part of it is just that it's far away and I don't have a ride. And so it's like I ruin, my Sunday morning getting there and getting back, and like it's 2 hours to get there and back, and then the service is an hour, and I'm just kind of awkward and like whatever. But also maybe just I haven't happened to make friends within the church, and so I just kind of feel But it would be nice if it was closer to me. But it is funny because it's like, I don't know, kind of got exactly or found exactly what I would have wished for, and I'm not feeling it. So, but there is also the thing where like I know that faith is meant to be in community, and like look at me, I am searching for community. I absolutely am, and for communication and like for what I'm saying and feeling to be understood. But also faith, community, where was I? I'm looking to be understood, but also my experiences of like a living devotion, faith, and spirituality have been largely in solitude. And like, I don't know, even like when I was in the cult that I was in it for God. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I wasn't in it for the community. I didn't really connect with that community. I was weird, I didn't fit in. But I did fit in with God. At least like for like 3 months I did. So I'm always trying to get back there, and like, I don't know. I kind of believe in God whether I want to or think that I do or not. And so the way that I'm thinking of it is like, well, maybe, God wants me to understand that I need to be in community, and maybe like, yeah. But you know what I don't understand? Politics. It's all around me, and what everyone in the whole globe, that's the way things get done. Politics. I don't even know what that word means, but it's relevant to me, and like it's especially relevant to the communities that I am in, and it's relevant to me because I'm part of groups that are disenfranchised, like being queer and just being like a woman adjacent person, and yeah, being queer, I'm like part of the ones who are looking for enfranchisement and like trying to take political action to defend our right to exist. And then of course, being white, I'm also and living in America, I'm like also on the oppressor class. Like I'm on the politically privileged class where I need to be being aware of that too. So like it's relevant, like it touches my life, but I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think that like collective stuff that has to deal with collectives of humans and like kind of a broad scale of humans, I don't know, I don't understand it, and I can't make myself fit into that in a way where I feel like I'm doing good and like I'm being an effective part of that organization. It's just like opaque and baroque to me. But I guess that's like no excuse, Evil flourishes when good people stand by and do nothing. I'm acting with my new morality that, sense of conscience and morality that I've been developing since exiting a cult. I'm like interacting with that from shame, conformity, and fear and OCD in the exact same way as I used to sort of metabolize my previous cult morality and the way that it was forced on me, which was again about shame, fear, and obsessive compulsive behavior and thought. And it's something that I've realized, especially since the election, just how ineffective I am at being a good person by the metric that I now have for being a good person. And I just still don't know what to do about it. Or even how to fully grasp it. Pretty sure I've had this basically exact conversation before in whatever last video I made. And I also need to go home soon because it's getting to be lunchtime. So maybe I'll do 2 videos, or I can smush them together. But I really like talking outside like this. It's really nice out, and it's just good to be thinking through this in nature, I appreciate being able to be in nature without having to survive off of the land. I like having air conditioning, and I like coming out in the woods in the little bit of trees, I was walking the other day and I saw some people replanting the riparian zone around the stream, and I asked them, and they knew what plants they were doing and stuff. It was cool. Creek conservation people. There's good in this world, Mr. Frodo. But once again, am I doing creek conservation? No. So I used to think, right, and be taught and believe that the way to be good was to follow God, as the cult taught that God was basically to follow God and to evangelize and spread the religion, stop people from going to hell, and sacrifice yourself and kind of make sure that you're not being selfish at all or really caring about yourself at all. I had a very strict idea of what it meant to be good. And to be honest, looking at the world, that morality did not do a lot of measurable good to myself or to others. It was neutral or bad, neutral at best, mostly. But now, coming out of that box, I kind of start to develop different senses of what's actually good and bad. But it's just come full circle. I now have the same attitudes about being good, quote unquote, in the real world. As in the real world. Really? I'm living in the real world right now? No. I'm living in an extremely pessimistic, doomer, stressful version of the real world, for sure. But it's what I now kind of believe and see, and so it feels more real. The cult thing felt real too, dude. But there is a fact that before, my morality was focused on the afterlife and heaven or hell, which is not very tangible. And now it's more focused on tangible suffering, tangible thriving, tangible people in the real time. So in that sense, it's my sense of what's good and bad and what ought to be done is more grounded. But I used to feel like it was my job to make sure that people didn't go to hell. Nothing else mattered other than that. And the fact that people were going to hell made being happy, made pleasure and joy, made just the idiosyncrasies of who I am and my existence, all of that unreal and worthless in the light of people are going to hell. And now it's like what all that matters is, alleviating the oppression and the suffering of the people who are oppressed and not given what they deserve and what they need in the world. And thanks to both seeing people around me and experiencing in my own life, I don't know, we live in a society. Thanks to the living in a society, and thanks to having the news and the internet tell me everything around the world, how people are having it even worse. And I'm benefiting from it, by the way. And every nice thing that I have, I only have because people are being exploited for it. Then that's kind of a fact that I can't really get away from, because that's not like, the afterlife that you can choose to believe in or not. It's like, the supply chains are the supply chains. So I'm like, partially aware of all that. And in light of that, in light of our world like running on exploitation, again, joy, pleasure, the idiosyncrasies of who I am, what I want in my own little world, it doesn't matter. It's useless. It's just kind of swept away by like the whole monolithic, like, basically do political activism, devote. I haven't even been to one protest ever. Protests are arguably not even that useful. I don't know how useful they are. I don't think I care that much. But I do care, at least insofar as it affects me. But like, I think that I feel like the way to be a good person in my current, milieu, in my current surroundings, is to be the kind of person who makes it a core part of their personality to, like, I don't know, bring about the revolution. Or, like, I know that's not practical and actually would harm a lot of people to do, kind of burn up everything. So, let's just say, to, do activism and, like, to, like, be talking about the people in Gaza all the time. And, like, feeling like they're being effective in that. And going to protests. And, like, making that a core part of their personality. And I don't understand how to do that. And I also feel like I can't, sincerely. And then I'm like, well, of course, because I'm just, like, living in a bubble to an extent. I don't know. Once I'm more out on my own and having to support myself more, and if things continue to go as they have and get worse and more draconian for me and for my lifestyle, like, then I'll care. And then maybe I'll do political activism. Like, I don't understand it. And I feel like everyone around me does understand it and does care about it. And, like, I have to care about it in the way that they do, or else I'm literally a bad person because, again, measurably profiting off of exploitation. That's where my nice things come from. I know this, but I'm not doing anything about it. Like, at least Catholics who have Catholic guilt have Catholic confession. I don't even have Catholic confession, but I have... And then people will be like, you know, I also know that, like, the thing to do isn't just, like, sit and be guilty. Like, that doesn't help anybody. First of all, it doesn't stop me from feeling that way. Actually, then I just feel guilty about being guilty. But, like, also, people, I know also that the wisdom is, like, okay, don't beat yourself up about it. It's not saying you're inherently evil. I'm taking it that way, though. But it's not saying you're inherently evil. Like, just, you know, try to be decent and, like, again, do political activism. Well, I'm not doing it. I don't think I'm gonna do it. This tree does not know who the president is. Then I think there's just a lot of cynicism as well. That, like, any perspectives that are kind of, like, optimistic or just focused on the beauty and just the flow of the world, that you're only able to have those perspectives if you kind of close your eyes to, like, most of what's going on and just are supported enough in your own sphere to, like, be happy and focus on the good. And then you're like, wow, life is great. And then the people who are exploited so that you can have your well-off living in a society-ness are like, wow, life is not great. And you suck. Because they're gonna eat me in the revolution. And I guess I'm fine with that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I said to my little sister that they were gonna eat me in the revolution. She was like, what do you mean? You're not one of the people they're gonna eat. They're gonna eat, like, the billionaires if they did have the revolution, which is not like she believes in that. But anyway, you know, she was like, they're not gonna be coming after you. But I'm like, I think they would. Like, because, like, I eat animals and stuff. I'm hungry right now. Like, I'm gonna pause this, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna eat lunch because I'm truly just becoming incoherent. I'm also just trying to, like, say my random tangential thoughts and then hope that they will cohere in some way. But so far, I think mostly tangents. But anyway, it's lunchtime, so. Okay, I'm back from walk and tree time. And I have some notes as well from when I was journaling. Yeah, I've said all of this before, but it hasn't sunk in yet, I guess. So I said, if all that matters is political liberation of the oppressed and alleviation of their suffering, then nothing matters, and then all the people around me are contemptible and shallow and worthy of disgust, and me and my world and the things I care about are too. Like, last night I'm, like, taking my walk and, you know, going to the dog park. Well, for me it's a park. I went there to swing. There's, like, the people, you know, in their houses and walking their dogs and stuff, and, like, again, none of that is meaningfully directly contributing to political liberation of the oppressed and alleviation of their suffering. In fact, it's just being happy and profiting off of it. And so, you know, and that attitude, I mean, there's something wrong with that. That can't be it. Because, as I said, then nothing matters except insofar as it contributes to the machine of liberation from the machine, which is the same as when I believed everyone was going to hell. So yeah, I'm misconstruing something somewhere, for sure. And I think that part of it also is just the scale of things. Like, I'm using words and concepts that I don't know what they mean. I don't know what liberation of the oppressed means. I've never, like, I'm not, I vote for the president, and, like, I know what laws get passed and stuff, but I'm not in the mechanism of that to an extent where I, like, really understand it. I am not, in Gaza. I don't know anyone from there. I don't have any intention to go there. It's not, relevant to me. It's not part of my world that I can genuinely understand and make, like, grounded, meaningful statements about. I know what it's like to be in a religious cult. I know what it's like to be queer in 2025 America in my community. I know what it's like to have a bunch of, like, personal trauma and PTSD stuff. But beyond that, I don't know about liberating the oppressed, like, and so I say, it's not relevant to me, but it is relevant to me. It's made to be relevant to me because we live in a society that's now a global society. So, and maybe always has been, I guess, but, like, the things that are in my house are connected to these faraway places and worlds. Like, I can't really just say, well, it's not relevant to me, because it demonstrably is. And also, I'm on the internet all the time, so I see the poetry that these people are writing, and I see their, blog posts, like, of everybody. So it is relevant to me in the sense that these things are impressed upon me, but also I feel I have no grasp on it. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to do with it. And the rubric that I'm picking up on, it doesn't seem to be working. All it's doing is making me feel ashamed and frozen, which is the last thing that anybody wants. Nobody is saying you should be ashamed and frozen. So I feel, I said, I know now that I don't need one universal narrative or take on everything, everywhere, all the time, but I need something, someone to return to. Like, I feel that to act coherently and to feel like I'm established as a person, I need some sense of coherence of my world and some sort of moral rubric of some kind. And I'm failing. I'm in very early experimental phases of trying to come up with that. I understood the, like, cult god world, an extremely minimalistic and horrible narrative, but I guess I got it, it made logical. Yeah, that was a coherent world, like, I understand that. And then I understand the kind of doomer materialist way of looking at things, where you're just kind of like, well, everything all comes down to power, and the people who are in power oppress everybody, and I'm both exploiting people and being exploited, and I'm just a cog in the wheel. A cog is a wheel. I'm a part of the machine, and also none of it matters because of the heat death of the universe. I get that. That's coherent, even though it's really negative. And then I understand, I can grasp a world or a worldview where, like, there is, like, a God in some way. There is some sort of, higher power, unifying spirit. There's somebody who is the source of all of this and who's kind of keeping an eye on it. And, like, keeping an eye on it really is all. And can then take all of the incoherent bits and make sure that they're coherent, and so that I don't have to do all that. So yeah, I kind of understand that, and I think that's, like,
that's what I always am trying to get back to, because I feel like it's the only time that I've ever been effective in my life is when I've held that kind of posture toward the universe. But what I don't get is this like secular humanist political liberation morality world. I don't get how joy and whimsy are okay in that world. I understand that other people get it and it works for them. I don't get it. I don't get it. It makes me feel claustrophobic, and it makes me feel like something's missing. And I feel the same. When I was in cult college, I was in a lecture, and the pastor was talking. I asked a question. I'm just in so much angst at this time. And I'm just scared of being judged badly by anyone, which again is what you need. Some sort of foundation and like stability and self-worth or lack thereof, or wherever you land on that. Anyway, but I was sitting there and I was asking, because the people that were around me in that group, they all believed the same things that I did, as far as people going to hell and everyone being inherently evil and the world gonna end and stuff. But like, I don't think they really believed it. Like, they were still okay. They would still go and get coffee and ice cream, and they would still do their hour of like evangelizing in the morning and then have a party in the evening and be like, this is fine. And I was over here, it did not make sense to me. And like, I asked the pastor, what gives, like, if world is bad and everyone going to hell, and how is it ever okay to be happy ever? How is it ever okay to have pleasure, ever? And he kind of gave his whatever answer, but the upshot of his answer was, I'm gonna eat my ice cream when I can and when it's available to me. And I was like, but why? But how? How are you okay with this? Because in the worldview that he was presenting, it didn't make sense to me how that was okay. And again, this is primarily to do with me and not to do with like philosophies themselves. This is to do with how I am taking these things. Sometimes there's the people that I follow on Tumblr, people will come into their ask boxes. These are people who are like Christian and more like on the progressive end of Christian. And like, yeah, anyway, people look up to them and people come into their ask boxes sort of with this hysterical, wailing sort of tone. And I say that with respect because I feel like there's something to this. Or anyway, they'll be like, God has rejected me and I am just the worst person to exist and I'm in this pit of despair and I just want to like flay myself alive, with guilt, and I just want him to look, and it's this particular hysterical sort of tone. And that's kind of where I'm at in my tone of my emotions of how I'm facing this. So I'm trying to like, I said in my diary that I was trying to approximate that sort of tone. And yeah, it's more of an emotional issue. What am I saying? I open my mouth and I just do not know what's gonna come out. But anyway, kind of last part of my notes is I said, if I try to live my life dedicated to being aware of the systems of power and exploitation around me, and dedicated, primarily to, like, quote unquote dismantling those. What does that mean? What am I supposed to do? Anyway, I see that the people around me seem to be doing, and they seem to be doing fine with it. But if I try to do that, I don't know. I don't think that I'm doing good in the world, frankly, by my own metric or by anybody's metric, and I also am miserable in the same way as I was miserable when I thought that, like, everyone was going to hell. And then it's like, well, maybe I'm supposed to be miserable, because aren't we supposed to be miserable in a world, etc. But it just feels very juvenile, and it feels very, like, it doesn't feel grounded or reasonable. But as I said, I don't want to be that libertarian skeleton guy. But maybe that's who I am. Fuck. And so there's just, like, in the end, I'm so afraid. And, like, maybe right now at this moment I'm not afraid, but if anything ever came up or kind of happened to put me in a situation and trigger that, then I'm instantly just so afraid of, like, anybody judging me, or in the end, I guess, of me judging me to be, bad. But just anybody. And I've said before how the internet is a very bad god. Like, you don't have to have a figure of this universally judging, like, presence or God or whatever. I do, because that space is just there right now in me. Something's gonna fill it. And the internet and the opinions of everyone on the internet, very bad way to fill that space. Worse than just believing in God. So, yeah, this leaves us in this type of situation. It's so funny, like, how much this parallels. Like, how this is almost like the exact dilemma as before, back in, like a couple years ago, when I was like, but I want to, write poetry and, like, read books and enjoy food and stuff, and yet, in my worldview, that doesn't matter. The people around me say that technically doesn't matter. Also, they don't really care about it, have the same needs themselves as I have. So, like, I was just so torn between my religious beliefs, and, like, my hobbies. But not in a shallow way, like my joy in life and just who I was. And this feels really the same, where my current approximation of a sort of a moral system suggests that most of what I'm doing, most of what I am, and most of what I give my life to is useless or harmful. And I don't know how to live that way. And I guess one of the ideas of, like, not believing in a very monolithic, controlling, one true God is that there isn't a final judgment on morality. But I don't know, I still think they're going to eat me in the revolution. So apparently that's not getting through my head. But the libertarian skeleton guy, okay, I think the brand name is 1924us. This is just a person that I project on. He and his wife, they have a company, kind of design company, where they, like, have really cute, like, sort of their mascot is a skeleton, and it's a nice, cute, like, drawing. They'll be lightly animated, like, in a field or something. They'll have a nice quote, and it'll be the skeleton guy. And I think I don't know what they even do. I think they make, like, clothes and designs and stuff. And they seem to have a very, like, happy, fulfilling life from what this person expresses publicly on Instagram. And, you know, he has kind of gotten into some kerfuffle with his audience, from whence I gather that he's like, you know, he's one of those people who's like, I don't care about politics. And he's clearly like financially decently off. And also, since he is, you know, a white person living in some, you know, first world country, he doesn't really have to care about politics. Like, he can just say, I don't care, because the status quo is like cool for him. And I have such strong feelings. Like I say, I project. He just lives in my head rent free, because I have simultaneously like envy of that sort of. He's not apologizing for his existence. He's defending himself to the people who are like, hey, you know, we can't all have like. They're basically saying things that I believe. I'm jealous of him for his nonchalance and for his feeling like he is confident in himself, and for his, you know, apparently having a fun little business where he gets to design inspirational skeleton flowers, quotes and stuff, and a nice marriage and everything, and just, it feels like his world is a nice place. So I'm very jealous of that, and I also hate this guy's guts, right? Like, I resent him so much, because I'm like, I'm not allowed to do that. How come you're allowed to do that? And also, I kind of think he is being a little bit, not having a very strong conscience to kind of just say, like, being like apolitical in a way that just means I support the status quo and like I'm fine with the status quo. I don't know. But then like, so it's just, it's a really great example of, yeah. Because it's not like I'm only better than him because I say the right things. Like, I'm not actually functionally any different from this guy. We're the same. We're the same kind of person. I think we're moving through the world in probably like a lot of the same way. I probably am him. I just don't admit it to myself. And I say the right things. So I, you know, can fit in with the... Yeah. So in the end, maybe I am that libertarian skeleton guy, and maybe I'm on the wrong side of history, and they'll put forks in me in the revolution. And if that's true, I have to accept it. You know, I can't be otherwise than what I am. And I'm really trying to be otherwise than what I am now, because I'm so scared that what I am is not good. And that, like, my natural inclinations and my natural sympathies and desires will cause me to, yeah, just, like, continue to contribute bad things to the universe. And I don't really want to do that. I don't like the idea of that. It's like in Hamlet, you know, everything's Hamlet. I'm 3 degrees of separation from Hamlet at all times. He kind of peels back the masks of kind of the nice seeming society and people and stuff around him to reveal that everything's like rotten underneath. And of course then in the end, he's like, he tries to fix it so hard, and he like tries to fight everything, and then in the end he just says like, let be, and accepts his role. He can see that, you know, everything around him, he knows he's in like a revenge tragedy, and like everything around him is he's just a part of the machine of violence and revenge, but that's what he is, like, and in the end he accepts it, and he like plays his part. But it's just the worst feeling. Like, you know, when you are making a joke and like laughing, and the people around you are laughing and stuff, and then someone like comes along and points out that that's actually not funny, it's not something to laugh at, and you're like being cruel, and then you realize that you're being cruel, and then like the mood is shattered, and then you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have been laughing at that. I'm so dead scared of like somebody doing that at any time, just to me and to my whole life and my whole sphere of things. And I think someone could, I don't know, like somebody always could. In this world anyway, there's always somebody who has it worse off than you, and who you are doing good like at their, or you're doing well at their expense, and they could, you know, sort of, so to speak, come along and be like, just and this really all gets back to, again, what was my conflict back in the day when I was in the cult, which was like beauty and pleasure, these things that are inherently sort of gratuitous and amoral. They are. Watch, you know, Hannibal. I don't know. Okay, they are in my opinion and in my definition of the term. Beauty and pleasure and these things that are inherently kind of amoral, gratuitous, versus morality. But there's not really a simple way. Back in the day, like, I came to the conclusion of, like, okay, theologically, because I believed in God in the sense of a very, like, unifying, all-powerful force. And so, theologically, I found out, okay, well, what God is about, in the end, is glory and beauty first and foremost, and then morality underneath that. So, you know, it's okay if I'm myself, it's okay if I'm not reading the Bible all the time, but if I go and like have fun and walk around the forest and stuff instead. And that sort of reconciled that for me, but now that it's all just muddled, it comes back to that. I think, you know, by my nature and my personality and what my life circumstances have made me, I'm a bit of an aesthete and, like, hedonist. Like, I have a deep sensitivity toward beauty and care for that, first and foremost. But how is that not just obscene? Like, I also have a conscience. I do have a conscience. And so, you know, how is that not obscene in a world where, you know, the people who are farming, I'm writing this essay on chocolate, the people who farm the cacao trees, these are family farmers, their children generally work on the farm, and the children are, it's impossible to even say without sounding like, because I've never been, there's literally child slavery and child labor going on in the world. How is it not? And more in my realm, you know, my friends are struggling to live and make a living. And the country is getting to be a worse place for us. So more in my realm as well. And like, in light of that, how is it not obscene? I don't understand how it's not obscene to do anything. Or rather, I can, sort of. Come to some peace on the matter, or like find my way forward in a way that feels okay. But I feel like only if I am devout in the way that I'm devout and like believe in God in the way that I do. So, yeah. In conclusion, skeletons. of the literal kind, from all of the death and destruction that underlies everything in the world, and the Hamlet kind, because that's kind of his turning point, I think, is when he's like, has his whole alas poor Yorick speech. I love that speech. And of course of the 1924 libertarian skeleton guy who does not know that I exist but lives rent-free in my mind every day.